Hey everybody, welcome back in. It's Captain Seth and Uncle Paul. Welcome to the channel. For new viewers, we love you. We're glad you found our page. For our patrons and our old G subscribers, we love you even more. Today we're talking about Checkpoint. This is a American and Israeli provider of software, IT, software and hardware. Some of the stuff confuses me. If you're confused by it, you're not alone. But what I want to not be confused about is why it's been rising in stock. For the stock price has been rising for the past 8 years. This is off the Patreon request line. The Patreon page is going bonkers. We'll talk about that toward the end of the video. But regardless, we want to listen to you guys, and someone suggested this, Paul. So we're going to take a look at Checkpoint, and we're going to use, for the first time ever, folks, we are going to use our own software to look at this. If you've been following us for years, we use wide charts. We've been using wide charts for a long time, and it's now time to debut the software that we've been promising for months and months and months. We've splashed it a smidge, but Paul's going to use it for the whole video. And yeah, Paul, tell us about this amazing software.
Oh, so our amazing software, not Checkpoint Software Technologies.
That's right, our software.
I was like, I don't know anything about Checkpoint Software Technologies.
Welcome in.
So when we first started making these videos, the most common question we got was,
where do I get this?
Where do I get this? I was like, well, unfortunately, White Charts is $500 a month. I pay for it, etc. So then it dawned on me, well, wait a second. Why don't I just buy the data provider and make my own software? The other thing is, we look at our data a lot different than other people do. So I wanted to be able to harness that in our own website, right? So we created the 8 pillars of our 8 ways of looking at a stock from a high level. What I just said is very important. What Seth, he said to me, tell us about the software. I said, I don't know anything about Checkpoint.
Yes.
The 8 pillars are not about getting into a deep dive. I don't care about the story as much as I look at the numbers saying, hey, what are the numbers telling me that I need to go do next? What do I need to look at next? That is the point of the 8 pillars. The 8 pillars is kind of like a screener for stocks. I'm not trying to get in a deep dive. If you're trying to get in a deep dive in every stock, you're going to waste a lot of time. What you need to do is determine what speaks to you about a company first. And then from there, look at those questions, look at that data, and it'll lead you to other questions. If the high level data makes sense to you, go dive deeper. Yes, I will miss out on opportunities because of that. But the point is, there are 10,000 stocks out there I need to analyze. I can't possibly go through all of them. Every single time I want to look at software, I have to have some sort of screener in a way, and the 8 pillars is our way of screening. Does that make sense, Seth?
Yeah. So we're going to use our 8 pillars that Paul has devised over this last year. I'm sorry, you've been doing it forever, but we finally called it something. So we're going to look at the PE ratio, profit margin, revenue growth, profit growth, shares outstanding, free cash flow, all right now for Checkpoint. Paul, let's get into it. What is the market cap for this company?
Okay, so market cap of the company is $16.5 billion. We have a PE of just above 20, so it's technically an X right there to start. But look at this profit margin, Seth.
Look, what is it?
41.47, massive check mark. Their gross margin is almost 90%. Now everyone, what that means is the profit margin is the after-tax everything bottom line of the company, 41%. We want to see it over 10%. This one's 41%. Software companies tend to have higher profit margins. Their gross margin, 89.15%. That means for every extra dollar they bring in revenue, that's going to lead to 89 cents of profit to that bottom line. That is huge, and software companies tend to have that. I'm a testament to that based on this. My gross margin isn't 90%, but once I made this software, it's a lot easier than every single dollar comes in, etc. So we have 1 X and 1 check so far, Uncle Seth.
Pillar number 3 is revenue growth over the past 5 years.
And by the way, I have to add dividend yield to this because I don't think they have a dividend, but either way. Okay, guys, one of the other exciting things I do on this website versus Y charts, I can lump everything in the previous 4 quarters, as opposed to Y charts only allows me to do year end, their calendar year end, or quarterly or trailing 12 months. So this is an even better way of looking at 4 quarters at a time. The last 4 quarters, etc. So 1.71 billion, 2.05 billion. Check mark there. Not massive growth, but it's still growth, which I know a lot of people like to see.
How about pillar number 4 is profit growth over the past 5 years, Paul?
So we go down here to the net income number. We have 697 to 848. Another check mark there.
Oh, nice. So we're only missing PE, which is a little high. That's our first X, and we have 3 straight checks. Paul, pillar number 5 is shares outstanding. We want the shares going down. Either they're buying them back, hopefully not selling them off.
Shares outstanding. 689 million down to 571.
Wow.
Definite check. Yeah, wow is right. That's a 15, 16% drop in shares outstanding. That is awesome. And the reason I like that so much is what the company's basically doing is they're taking their free cash flow and rewarding investors by saying, hey, thanks for sticking with us. We're going to eliminate shares from the market. That way you own a bigger piece of the company. If before, I always love doing this example, a company has 10 shares outstanding and you own one, you own 10% of the business, 1 out of 10. If they buy 2 shares back, it goes down to 8, you still own the 1, but now you own 12.5% of the company versus 10%, keeping your 1 share. This I like. Obviously, there are other things that matter in buying shares back, but I like to see the company is not issuing shares because then the opposite occurs and you start getting diluted, as they call it.
Pillar number 6 is current assets over current liabilities, Paul.
Current assets over current liabilities. So we go to the balance sheet, and the current assets is the cash on hand versus the current liabilities, which the debts are due pretty much immediately. They have $1.96 billion in cash on hand, almost $2 billion of cash on hand, and total current liabilities, $1.34 billion. Check mark.
Nice.
The other thing I want to show, though, Seth,
Go on.
they have only $2.2 billion in total liabilities. So they have almost enough money to pay off all their debts for the entire company. Not enough, but that's a huge, it's really, really difficult when you have cash on hand to pay everything off that you'd go under. That's what we like. Now, the next thing is looking at free cash flow to see if they can keep making their financials better.
Pillar number 7 is free cash flow, which is the cash from operations minus capital expenditures. This is one of Paul's favorite pillars, and let's get after it.
Why
Paul.
is it one of my favorite pillars, Seth?
Well, they can do a lot of things with this money, and it's sort of it's a good question, Paul. I didn't think you were going to ask it.
I mean, we've only done 334 of these videos.
Yeah, obviously, the free cash flow, they can make acquisitions with it. They can pay a dividend if they have it, or raise their dividend if they have extra of it.
Yep.
Well, what else?
They can buy back shares,
Of
which we
course,
talked about
buy back
before.
shares, yeah.
Cash flow is what I look at more than net income. And the reason being, cash flow is a harder number to manipulate than net income. Net income is based on what the IRS tells you to do, accounting rules, etc. Cash flow, cash in, cash out. Now, can you manipulate cash flow? Absolutely, but it's much harder to do. Cash in, cash out at the end of the day, unless they're cooking the books, cash in, cash out. And I like looking at that as a multiple because I want to see how much money they're generating, and then also free cash flow is calculated by cash from operations less the capital expenditures, which you want to sit there and see how much cash they spend on capital expenditures to maintain their business. If they spend a big chunk of their operating cash flow to keep the business going, I don't like that as much. Now, software businesses tend to be a low percentage of capital expenditures to cash from operations, and we'll see that right here. Look at this, guys. $1 billion a year basically in cash from operations, 20-some million just in capital expenditures. That's it. It's a lot lower number. So they went from 925 million to call it $1.1 billion, Seth. Mm-hmm. So that's a check mark there.
Okay.
1.025, 1.1. This is 1.1. I mean, basically make $1 billion a year in free cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right.
So now the most common question we get is, how do you know what to multiply it by?
So this is pillar number 8, our price to free cash flow. So once we find the free cash flow average over the past 5 years, we want to use this to come up with the market cap that we might want to pay for this company, and then we compare it to the real world market cap. Go ahead, Paul.
Over long periods of time, net income and free cash flow should equate out. In fact, one of the ways you look for fraud is when you see net income and free cash flow be very different over 5 or 10 years periods of time. Enron was a basic example. Go look at Enron for those of you who are too young to know the story. Yep. They were reporting billions and billions and billions of dollars in profit and less than $1 billion in free cash flow. So we pick PE of 20 to be less than 20. That doesn't mean 20, if it's below 20, you buy it. So since free cash flow and earnings should be the same, we want the PE, we want the multiple to be the same. So we multiply by 20. So we want this company to be under a $20 billion market cap. And it's currently 16.5. Check mark there. So we have a check mark on the free cash flow multiple. Does that mean that we have 7 check marks here? You got to go buy it? No. But what it means is this is a great company to then go forward and say, okay, what do I see for the future? Can I get a higher return on my money? Are they going to be around for a long time? Are they going to build on themselves? Are they doing the things that I would want to own part of that company for? And so far, based on the financials, I like this company.
It's at a current price of about $120.
Don't care.
In 2012, it was it was much cheaper, down to $54. So it has this been nice, steady climb. It had a huge jump in the .com era, Paul. Like around 2001, it was way up there, 100 some odd dollars. Yeah, $104, and then crashed all the way down to 13 something dollars. Lost 90.
Oh, what makes sense? Software was a big thing. So it hasn't even, so 113. So guys, just to show you about bubbles, in 2000, it hit $113 a share. What's it at right now, Seth?
119.
So 21 years later, it is at the same price it was basically 20 years ago. That's why buying on fundamentals is important for me. With that said, there are things we're going to add to this website for momentum and chart trading, things like that. There are multiple ways to make money. We want to make sure that we are showing people that you can make money in multiple ways. Momentum, fundamentals, charts, options, saving, etc. That's what this channel is about. But right now, we are analyzing the fundamentals of the company, and I like it. I like the fundamentals. Now, one of the things I do want to do, Seth, is pull up the options for this company as well. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great idea. People love options. So this is calls and puts, covered calls.
We've had a lot of popularity in our Patreon group about options. A lot of people in our Patreon group say, learning options alone with us has paid for it. So why don't we talk about the Patreon and what it does?
Yes, while Paul pulls that up, guys, our Patreon group, the link is in the description below. Here's the gist of it. We've been growing crazy the past few months. We only opened it in like September, Don, our producer.
No, November.
November, wow. So we have over 860 members now. You get access to a full Discord channel of like-minded people that are all talking the way we do. We don't necessarily, Paul and I are not huge fans of following the hype stocks and getting into overpriced things. And if you join our Patreon, you will learn from other people all around the world. You can bounce ideas off. I felt very alone in my journey of investing, like I had no one to talk to. And now Paul and I go live on a monthly basis. Paul goes live with the top tier groups. I went live last night, Paul, for an hour and a half talking to patrons. We talk directly to you. You learn about us and vice versa. And it's just been incredible. So there's 3 different tiers. And in the middle one, if you're into day trading, momentum trading, you get our expert trader Mo will be in that chat conversing. And obviously the top tier gets you full access to Paul on an hour by hour basis in terms of what trades he's making. So join the Patreon and you will get the software, which will be, Paul, we will show the one-click analysis of 8 pillars before we leave the show, but go ahead. What do you got on options here for this?
So the other thing about the Patreon group is whatever group you sign up for, the prices are only going to go up in the future. Trust me when I say we've already had people from our last $8 and $25 group going, oh no, why did I miss it? Just trust me when I say this is very, very valuable. You'll get all the software for free. As we add more and more software, unless there's a reason why I have to charge more, it's all going to be included. So, puts, guys. Now, what I do as part of my investing strategy is I will use puts, selling puts, as a way to generate income for myself while I buy stocks that I want at prices that I want. A put is basically what it sounds like. I'm selling someone the right to put the shares in my hands at a future date at a future price. So right now, Checkpoint is at $120 a share. Let's say I want to buy Checkpoint at $110 a share in March. I would pull up my March 19th, 2021 puts. I would look at my $110 level. Right now, it's paying about $1.30. The last trade was $1.30. So what that means is...
So you want to buy this stock at
if I choose to buy this stock at 110. I'm not saying that's the right price. Okay. I'm just saying if I said, hey, listen, I want to buy this stock at 110. What I would do then is I would sell for $1.31 the put. Now you have to do these in 100 shares at a time. But we're going to look at it at 1 share at a time. I'm getting $1.31 to wait 37 days. If the stock falls below that 110 mark, I'm going to be forced to buy the shares from the person for $110.
Even if it fell all the way to 100.
Even if it fell for 100. Now, you might sit there and say, well, what's the catch on it? That's the catch. But if you're a fundamentally sound investor and you're going to buy it at 110 anyhow, let's say it went to 110 tomorrow, you're going to buy it.
Yes.
If a month from now it's at 100, you're in the same position as just waiting. The difference is I keep this $1.31 no matter what happens.
I see.
So what's $1.31, Seth, divided by $110?
I have no damn clue. You know that.
Okay, it's around $1, 1.2%. I'm going to make 1.2% of my money to wait for 37 days.
It is 1.2%, Paul. Okay. You do this.
1.2% to wait 37 days.
It's amazing. This is how you beat the market.
12% per year annualized.
Incredible.
So that's what I can do to buy shares that I want of companies that I want at prices that I want. You can go far in the future. For example, let's say we picked July of 2021, and I want to do $110 there, I'm going to get $5.30 for the exact same strike price. Why? Because it's longer in the future. It's further out in the future. Now, what's the risk of going out further in the future? Well, the risk is that along the way, the fundamentals change in the company. And I go, oh shoot, they just reported bad earnings or something really flawed happened. So I like to write options at shorter time periods. Bless you. Shorter time periods for the stocks I want at the prices I want.
A normal person might say, what's the catch? Which is my first reaction. But the key is when you do this disciplined, deep look at the fundamentals and the numbers, finding a particular strike price that you want to buy at doesn't all of a sudden become some risky gamble. It's like, yes, I would have bought this company at this lower price anyway, so why don't I go ahead and make some money on it?
So the big thing we preach here is discipline. Whether you're making money for the fundamentals that we just discussed, through options that we just discussed, momentum, hype stocks, same thing. We talk about all these, but discipline's the most important thing we talk about, and that's what's coming through in our Patreon group and with our software. It's about teaching the discipline and the mindset it takes to be a really, really good investor. So the recap on Checkpoint is, I think you need to do more research in the sense of this is a company that I'm going to do more research on because I like the idea of buying this company at some point in the future because I like their financials. Buying back shares with their extra cash flow is awesome.
That's our show, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tickle that thumbs up, not smash it. Smash is getting old. We tickle it here on Everything Money. And we're tickled that you follow us. Make sure you subscribe and check out the Patreon if you want your life to be changed. You want to learn more about disciplined investing and, of course, options trading. We love you guys. Thanks so much. See ya.